Hey everyone, welcome back to the Consulting Success Podcast, or if you're checking us out on YouTube or somewhere else. Very excited to have you all here today, but especially excited to have Michelle join us. Michelle is our head of growth at Consulting Success. And today, what I thought we would talk about is something that probably none of you have been hearing about or spending any time thinking about at all. It is the topic of AI. And so, yes, that was a joke. You likely have been seeing and hearing people talk a lot about AI, but what I wanted to bring Michelle on here today and for us to kind of share some ideas with you is this is a topic that we've been speaking to clients a lot about recently at Consulting Success, and especially inside of our Clarity Coaching program, where Michelle has been leading several conversations, discussions, sharing of best practices. Michelle has worked with multiple 7- and 8-figure companies over the years, but he has a very deep and good, strong understanding of AI. It's an exciting time. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack. So first of all, Michelle, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate to be here.
Yeah, and I appreciate because we tried to record this a moment ago and I had some technical difficulties, but we're back. We're committed to making this work for everybody. So where I thought we would start off is if people have been online for recently, they've almost certainly seen ads or posts where people are saying that AI is going to eat consulting for lunch. Consulting is dead. It's not going to exist. AI is going to replace everything. And let's just start with what's your take on that whole direction of is AI actually going to take over consulting?
I think the question that a lot of people need to figure out, first of all, is anytime that we have this pessimistic view about something that's going to be replacing something, has it actually really replaced it? Or when it replaced it, it opened up a whole new can of worms with a whole new industry and a whole new technology or needs anyways from business. So I'm reminded a bit of a podcast episode where I remember somebody saying, if you had a paper to write in university and you had used AI to plagiarize or to write it for you, and the professor didn't have an AI checker or anything, the professor just simply asked the student, if I quizzed you on topics in your paper for the next 30 minutes, would you be able to sustain a good conversation and answer all those questions? And by their answer, he would know if they actually did research or not using AI. And that's my point, is that consultants have expertise, they have authority, they have experience, they have all the nuances and things that they've actually gone through in all of their years as a expert in whatever field that they're consulting on, that they bring to the table. There's creativity, there is the ability to think outside the box. For example, AI is a learning model. It will learn a lot of the data and information based on what you give it. And in fact, you can also give it a vast array of different types of information that it can go into, and it'll be able to come up and sometimes what we think creatively, is that a word? Yes, an adjective. To come up with some new ideas and some new things that we never thought of. But it still is limited by the data that it's been trained on. Even though we have it come up with new ideas, the expert will understand asking the right kinds of questions, seeing specific situations with their clients and businesses. There's all the nuance, that messiness that the human condition brings that a robot will never be able to replace. So yes, AI will replace a lot of the legwork, the heavy lifting, the stuff that we can actually make it do our jobs easier, but it'll never replace actual expertise, actual consulting know-how that we bring as consultants.
And what do you say to the people who have the belief right now that this is a fad, it's a trend, everyone's talking about it, but it's not necessarily going to last. If I just kind of keep doing what I've always been doing because it's worked for many years, maybe for even decades, I will be okay. What's your warning or your response and feedback to those people?
Well, when the commercial internet began, people said, I can, keep our stores open and our retail stores. And obviously they're still there because there's a human and social aspect, but a lot of stores had to close down. They didn't think that the internet would replace a lot of those.
Yeah.
But AI is really here to stay. It's growing so fast. In fact, the competition for it is so fierce that it's driving up the demand for it to become better and accelerate at an accelerating pace. And I'm reminded of something, when we talk about pessimism, there was a really interesting talk back in the 80s. And I remember an economist by the name of Paul St. Pilzer. He said something that caught my attention, and it's very much applicable to this. He said, if you remember back in the 70s, there was this gasoline shortage. We saw, people thought that there was going to be no more gas, and there was lineups at the pump, and gas stations were closing down all the time. And then economists back then said, oh, based on the current supply demand, we're going to run out of gas by the 90s or whatever the case was at that time. But what they didn't understand or didn't predict is something called fuel injection that was invented in the 80s to combat that. And nobody saw that, never predicted that. So it changed the whole idea. And basically, we never really had, run out of gasoline. And now, of course, today we got the electric car. But the point being is AI is the same idea, is that we're looking at it as it's never going to replace or might replace. And there's a fear and there's a lot of apprehension around it. But no, it's going to open up so much. I think there's a saying that says AI will not replace consultants. AI will, consultants who know AI will replace consultants.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the big difference.
And that's a really important point, right? So what I think we both very much agree on is that AI will not replace consulting, but AI will replace consultants and the frame or the box of consulting for those that aren't thinking about how to apply or use AI in their businesses. And your previous example, about oil, or about the internet. I remember back in the day, when cell phones first came out, it was like that big block, right? And people looked at it and said, like, I would never carry on one of those things. I mean, first of all, a lot of people couldn't afford them, but even those that could didn't necessarily all run out and grab these big, like, it just seemed so inconvenient. Well, look where we are today, right? I mean, we have essentially computers in our pockets. They're more powerful than, anything that people could have imagined back in the day. We are so early when it comes to artificial intelligence. And I think of myself, I always appreciate technology in some, formats. I'm an early adopter. When I first started hearing about AI, go back a year or so, kind of when I'd say it started to become a little bit more mainstream, I remember thinking like, whatever, like this is not necessarily as, like, I didn't see it right away. I was not a full-on believer of what AI is going to do to the world. But over the last year, my position now is that this is something that every consultant, I don't care what industry you are in, I don't care how old you are, I don't care where in the world you live, I think you have a responsibility to understand and to pay attention to AI, and in two ways. First, AI, you need to think about how does AI impact your clients and the market that you work in. Number two is you need to think about how does AI impact your direct business, competition, and the future. And those that don't pay attention to both of those, I think either you do a real disservice to the clients that you care about and that you want to add value for, and you also potentially do a real disservice to yourself. And if you have a team, right, which many people do, then you're doing a disservice to your team if you're not paying attention to it, because you might wake up, you might feel right now you're okay, but in a few months from now or in a year from now, there's a very good chance that you're going to wake up and you will see that the competition has been taking, they've been paying attention to what's going on. And now all of a sudden they're way ahead of you. They're putting out things in a way that you can't because you haven't been thinking about it. So what I'd love to kind of get your perspective on, Michelle, is what are maybe a few ways that you think AI can be used? What do you think AI might actually replace in the world of consulting and what consultants do? So what are some maybe good examples of what can AI actually replace? How can you actually use AI effectively right now?
Well, I'm going to give you a two-part answer. And the reason is because there are some obvious ways that we can use AI now. In our company, for example, Consulting Success, we have four major pillars in the company. We've got sales, we've got marketing, we've got operations, and we got fulfillment. And we can use AI in any one of those four, or we can find ways to use AI in one of those four, either A, to become more efficient and automate a lot of the processes, reduce a lot of the time that it takes for a lot of this stuff to be done. Because a lot of times we can do research on a topic, or we need to do some work on a topic that might be, a couple of weeks. Now it can be done in a couple of hours. it's just that much of a game changer. The number of bodies that we needed in our business has been the need for those bodies have been reduced tremendously. You can have literally an entire company of 20 to 100 people in just 5 people because of AI. Now, the second part of the question is AI is growing and is accelerating at such a high speed that it's impossible to predict the various ways that we can use AI. And one of the best lessons I have ever learned is AI. It's kind of what this professor, there's a YouTube video that he said it best. He says, a lot of people think that AI is a question and answer machine. We ask it questions, we do prompts, and it comes out with the answer, comes out whatever output. And we should not treat it that way. What we should treat it as is a teammate. And the reason is because if you ask AI or a piece of software, any kind of software, and it gives you a response, and it's not really the response you're looking for, then you'll have to repeat it, or you're going to go to another piece of software, or whatever. If you had a teammate, what do? You give it feedback. You give it course correction. You give it some ideas on how you think would be the better response for this, or things that you would like it to be better at. And that's where AI can become a tremendous tool. And so, we're talking about agent AI or AI agents. Agentic AI is the word that is very commonly used, where you can have AI that can do a summary of a whole bunch of articles for you, create a blog post on LinkedIn, and then you have to go in and edit and check and things and whatever the case is. But also you could give it feedback. You could come back and then fix the prompt, add more specificity, make the prompt a little bit better so that it can come up with a better output. But now we have even another layer of AI that can actually critique itself, come back and fix it. And if it's not the right, it's come back and fix it. So it's basically its own your teammate, really. So that's the answer, is that sometimes a lot of people say, well, how can I use AI? Use AI to find out how you can use AI. You can, the best prompts I ever saw was you are an AI expert. Please tell me or give me recommendations on how I can best use you in order to do X, Y, and Z. Recommendations on how I can meet this KPIs, these workflows, how I can make these workflows better. And let AI itself tell you what it could do for you. And it's really like a tutor and a teammate into one.
So before you go on, Michelle, because I know you have some frameworks that you've been sharing with clients in our Clarity Coaching Program, and I want to ask you to maybe share at least one of those here today, just on that topic, because I think consultants, successful consultants, one skill set that they have is they're very good at asking questions, right? And they know the right questions to ask, and they go beyond the surface level of questions in conversations. They know how to go deep. They know how to have a value conversation with clients, and throughout different kind of stages of the engagement. That's where I see one of the advantages that consultants can have when it comes to AI. I think a lot of people are still using AI, as you mentioned, which is very much like ask one question, get some feedback, they look at it, right, or they get an output, they go, it's okay or it's not okay. But the more, the deeper you go, the more that you ask, the more that you come at it from different perspectives, and you go deeper and you try and refine that mindset, that skill set of knowing what to ask and knowing what to look for and bringing in the context and applying that is what, to me, really is will separate those who look at AI and go, it's okay, I'm not sure how powerful this will actually be, from those that it's like pouring gas or gasoline on the fire. You can really get something very powerful. I've done some stuff with AI and clients look and go like, how did you even do that? And this is the thing that to me is so amazing. It's well, you can do that too. You just need to know and to learn. This is what we're teaching and trying to show our clients is here's how you can develop a really compelling business case, or here's how you can develop better messaging, or here's how you can use this in your marketing. And when you understand and learn these different pieces yourself, right, it becomes really, really powerful for you. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that in terms of any use cases of where you see that AI is replacing things and people should pay attention to that, or how others can use AI maybe more effectively. So I want to ask you about that before we go on to maybe talking about a framework or two.
Sure. One of the most common objections that we hear within our own team, for example, and even with clients, is that, AI hallucinates. Sometimes it really gives wrong answers, whatever the case is. But again, you're looking at input, output, and that's it. You're kind of looking at the output. Well, if it's not really a good output, you're you're thinking that it's a bad, and AI is not that good. But again, you're not treating it like a teammate. You're not treating it like a person you can give feedback to.
Yeah.
And so I say this: AI is accelerating to the point right now where it's hallucinating less and less because AI is getting better at verifying itself, at fact checking itself, at critiquing itself. And if not, you can use AI to do that for yourself. In fact, I've seen a lot of consultants and clients that are using AI to actually go back and like AI agents to actually come back and look at a lot of the data and the output and correct, whether it's coding, whether it's engineering, whether it's copywriting copy, whatever the case is. So I think what we need to understand is this, is that the output that AI puts out is no different than an AI that you would hire somebody to write copy for you. What it would expect you to come back, it's a first draft. Go back and give it feedback and let it, come back with better stuff. Fact check, give you references. Hey, this is you're citing some law cases here. Let's say it's a legal consultant. You're coming up with some law cases. I want to make sure these are actual real law cases that are setting precedents, whatever. Can you go back and cite those law cases and make sure and fact check and whatever? And so it will become better and better that way.
That example or what you're bringing up right now, I think is so true in my experience, and also very important for people to understand, because I know when even recently I was doing some work with AI around forecasting, around the business growth and different metrics around leads and conversions and all that, and the output looks really good, but when you start going through it, it's like, well, wait a second, that's not what that was not my input, or something looks off there.
Right.
Now the distinction is that if you were working with just another team member or you had a contractor, you would need to go and communicate back to them like, hey, I've received the file that you've sent. Here's my feedback. Something looks off. Now we have to wait for them to receive it, to go through it, to update it, and to send it back. That all takes time, right? And time is money, it's resources. The beautiful thing with AI is, in my example, I just went and said, hey, can you check this one metric around conversions, because I didn't say 20, I said 25. What is that actually, can you check that? And then it comes back and says, you're correct. Thanks for pointing that out. I will redo the calculations, and then boom, right? So on the spot, if you know what to pay attention to, if you don't just accept the first output and instead have the mindset of, I'm going to always look to improve. I'm going to, really think critically at what I get and then give it feedback. It just gets better and better.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you have to do. You have to treat it like a teammate, like somebody that you've actually outsourced a task to, that you give it feedback to, and then get better output from.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk. I know you were sharing with clients recently one of the frameworks that you kind of use and look at, which is RACES. Walk us through, what is the acronym? What does it stand for? Why is it valuable?
Yeah. Well, when I use AI, I'm thinking I'm off to the races, right? So it's really an acronym that kind of reminds me of the things that I need to make sure that the AI has information on to make it the best output possible. In fact, Tony Robbins himself said that the quality of the answers is wholly dependent on the quality of the questions, right? And AI is so different. The better the questions, the better input that you give it, the better the output. The RACES framework simply means this. It means role, actions, context, examples, and specifications. Here's what it means. Role. When you start with AI, you give it a role. Act as an expert email copywriter that has worked with consultants in the engineering space or whatever. The next one is actions. Tell it what you want it to do. I want for you to write me 25 Google ads, copy for 25 Google ads, and I want it to have headlines. I want it to have this word count. I want it to target this audience, and I want it to be in a calendar that will be distributed over a period of time. Whatever the specific.
I want me to share the for you on it. So yeah, do you find the more specific you are with this, it's always better? Or
Yes.
Okay, so being lazy and just putting in high level, like create an effective Google ad for me, that's a no. You want to be specific.
So here's coming back to our previous conversation.
Yeah.
If you had a teammate, hey, create some ads for me. That's basically the same idea, right?
Yeah.
Well, how many ads? What kind of ads? Who are we targeting? Where's it going? How much are we, how much are we spending? Right? All those things. But still coming back on the races is the actions you give it is basically telling it what you want as an output. C means context. Give it context.
Yeah.
So we are this company. We've been in business doing this. These are major products that we're selling. They're flagship products, our signature products, whatever the case is. Our price points, the target market, who we're actually catering to, who are we trying to attract for our business, what challenges we're trying to solve. Give it context so that it understands the background. Next is examples. Sometimes when you give it an action and you tell it what you want it to come to put out, may be based on sometimes some presumptions that are maybe false or wrong or misleading. So when you give it actual examples, here are some examples of ads, of Google ads from one of my competitors or from a similar industry, but these are the types of ads I'd like to, write. And it's also gives you kind of the flavor of the ads if you want it to be not as promotional, a bit more compelling, a bit more whatever they are, conversational type of ads or text. And that's examples. And then finally, specifications. Always, 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 always ask AI, ask me as many questions as you need to make sure that this output is the best output possible. And it'll ask you questions. Great, here are 5 questions. And then you answer it in the same order. And it'll say, did you want me to create a calendar for you? Or did you want, the ads to be themed around this idea or this particular challenge? Did you want your Google ads to appear in Google search? Do you want display ads? Do you want pictures with your ads rather than just text? Basically it'll ask a lot of questions. Sometimes some of the questions are even more specific depending on how complex it is. And then you answer the questions and then boom, you'll get your output. And often it'll get the best output possible. But I want to take it one step back. Races are components of a framework that presumes that you know exactly what you want in those things. And oftentimes if you ask, you say, hey, as the last question, specifications, which is, please help me, ask me any questions you want so I can help you and specify my input so that it comes out with the best output possible. Sometimes you don't even know what would be the best role, the best context, the best examples. So you can actually use AI to define AI's framework before you actually come up with the actual output. So you say, hey, what would be the best role that would do this XYZ thing? And so you're using the framework in order to clarify the framework. You're actually helping it to specify or to come up with the best inputs possible. So once you put it together, you coming out with the best output. So basically, it's just kind of like prompt engineering. You're using AI to help you create the best prompt possible to teach it on how to come up with the best output.
Yeah.
And then, actions, like what would be the best actions that would create the best response or results? What would be here's the context. What other information that you would need from me from this context that I could add to make it better? And so on and so on and so forth. So always look at the output, never, take it first. Use AI to fact check, to critique itself, to come up with better output, but also the input. Ask AI to help you come up with better inputs if you need to. But if you're pretty good and you have a good understanding of what goes into the framework, use RACES. ARACES.
Love it. I think it's incredibly powerful. I want to encourage everyone to apply that, see what comes from it, and let us know wherever you're consuming this content right now. Go into the comments and share it with us. Where else, if you want to learn more, Michelle, if they want some additional resources, some help with this, is there anywhere on Consulting Success that we could send them to, or any other kind of resource that we can put in front of them?
Well, if you're not subscribed to the podcast, that'd be your first indication, right? We do have a blog, and we're going to be kind of bringing up some new content on our blog that will be very much AI driven and AI forward. I obviously encourage people to learn more a bit about what we offer. I mean, Clarity Coaching is one of our best programs. It has the ability to not only bring consultants to the next level, whatever level they're at, but also to apply a lot of this technology, these changes and these things that are coming around that, it's nice to have a finger on the pulse of what's going on. Yeah. And this is your best bet. Clarity Coaching is one product that obviously, because I work at Consulting Success, but it's also something I'm very, very proud of. So
no, well, I appreciate you saying that, and really, this is what we're talking to our clients a lot about these days. And I think if you have your head in the sand, or if you're not paying attention to it, you will be sorry that you didn't spend more time on it. So we're definitely going to be spending a lot more time on this topic with clients. I'd love to hear from all of you if this was interesting, if it was helpful. Would you like Michelle and I to do more of these and to talk more about AI and other aspects of building and growing consulting businesses? So again, whatever platform you're on, leave us that feedback. Get in touch. We always love to hear from you. Michelle, thanks again so much for coming on, and I'm looking forward to doing this again.
My pleasure. Likewise.